So let's talk about time management. This is one of my favorite topics because we all live our life with the same hours in a day, in a week, in a month. How you live your life, how you use your time determines how satisfying your life is, or how frustrated or lack of satisfaction your life is. So it's very important. So I've given this talk in many different ways, some changes, to different audience. To high school students, they need time management, right? To college student, to young professional, to parents, and then to kind of different ages. I welcome your questions, and you're going to have some homework during the time. So you ready to talk about time management? Now, how many of you have gone to some workshop on time management? Some of you did, right? So and how many of you read about books on time management? Right? Is it working? It should help you in some way. So we're going to talk about time management. How do we wear all these hats, right? What are some hats that we wear? Give me some example. You're engineer or manager, right? What other hats? How many of you are moms? Right? A wife, right? Daughter? Husbands, fathers, right? And could be a teacher, volunteer, like Melissa and Simon. So we have many hats that we wear. How do we wear that? So, let's see. Good, there you go. So what are some challenges in time management? Right? We always feel like we don't have enough time. How do we wear all these hats? We sometimes have more responsibilities than we have time for, right? So what is the right responsibility to sign up for? What are the ones we cannot? Now, some things you cannot just give up, right? You're a wife, you're always a wife. So before I came, I'm going to be here for a few days. I cooked 8 different dishes for my husband. So he's got everything he needs, from congee to beef shank to pork belly to oatmeal to dessert, green bean soup. Like many different food that I prepare. I'm always a wife, right? So we need to allocate time to fulfill my responsibility as a wife, which I enjoy doing. And then you're always going to be a mom, right? So you always spend time with my daughter. She cooked for me last night. Delicious Vietnamese noodle. Very good. I'll post it on Facebook. Phenomenal. So there's responsibility that we have to fulfill. So how do we prioritize them? So we're going to talk about how to better manage our time, right? A lot of times we talk about these 2 E words. We want to be more efficient, so we can do more quantity. And then we want to be more effective, so we have better quality and better impact. Quantity may be good, but you cannot do everything. So part of what we're going to learn today, how do you select and prioritize? Because you're going to go crazy if you try to do everything. Right? We need to prioritize and draw a boundary. Quality for sure, it's good, and yet you cannot be perfect, right? So we're going to talk about how to accept roughly right. Some of the problem for us, not managing time well, is trying to be perfect. And I struggle through many of these challenges. And I'm hoping to share with you how do we manage our time better. So this is the Chinese version that Simon posted, right? You know, how do I spend more time with my family? And do I make more pay if I manage our time better? It's not necessarily related to money per se, but definitely you can be smarter. So we're going to talk about some of those techniques. So the outline for my topic today, we're going to talk about what are some typical things that we waste time on. We can all share some of those ideas. And then how can we avoid them? And then we need to learn about what's important and urgent. Have you heard about the tyranny of urgency, right? So we're going to refresh what it means and how does it apply to our own practice. And then the most important is to know what is our goal. What is our goal in our life? To really set our priority according to our goal. If you're busy doing many things, but not really addressing your goal, what good is it, right? So you need to be clear to understand what's your goal and align your priority to your goal. So we're going to talk about how to set goals. And then many of you know I love acrostic. So how do we aim, right? It's an acrostic I'll share with you so that we can realize our goal. And to me, what is my purpose in life? When I spend my time 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, is to really live a life that is satisfying, right? Rewarding, and is fruitful. That's my goal. Hopefully that may be your goal as well. So that's our topic today. There are so many books written on time management, right? Some of you might have read some of these already. So some of my favorite is First Thing First and 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. How many of you read that book? A couple of you, right? And then there are books like 9 Steps to Work Less and Do More. We all want to do that, right? Work less, you don't have to work as hard, but could be smart and yet getting more accomplished. Where did the day go? You know, tell your time. How do you tell your time? And getting things done. So there are all kinds of books on time management. Ultimately, it isn't about the books that's written. It's about really putting into practice. I always talk about you may know a lot in your head, but you really need to be convicted and feel the urge and the emotions in your heart. And then ultimately, you need to put it in your hand. So I'm hoping what I share today, it wouldn't just be head knowledge. We'll talk about your heart and also how do you put into practice. So, sorry, I'm still working through this. Okay, so how many of you have seen this diagram? Not many, 1 or 2. I think probably I used this last time as well. When we look at success, what do we usually see in people's success? They're successful and only above the water level, right? Just the tip of an iceberg. But what we did not see is a lot of the struggles that they go through under the water level. Give 2 examples in your neighborhood. Mr. Steve Jobs. He was extremely successful. Did he have failure? He lost his own company, right? He had to go back in. He had disappointments. So last time when I came, I talked a lot about AQ, adversity quotient, the grit. It's how do you fail forward? How do you learn from your mistakes? So that talked a lot about being persistent and not to be afraid when you fail. So Mr. Steve Jobs is a good example. Mr. Mark Zuckerberg, another neighbor in your area, he's going through some difficult time right now, right? Facebook, very difficult, a lot of scrutiny. So in the same way, we may not see how much they have to struggle, and yet that's all contributing to their success. Because it's only through failure that we become stronger and you learn. So we talked a lot about that in April when I came. But did you notice, other than hard work and dedication, there's this symbol. What is that? A clock. I love this. I didn't come up with this diagram. Sylvia Duckworth did. I love the clock. So that talks about how important it is to manage your time. And what is the phrase that they tie to the clock? Good habits. This is one of my favorite. When we talk about time management, it isn't about managing time. It's about managing yourself with some very good habits. So we're going to talk about what are some of those good habits that would help you manage your time so that you're successful, so that you could work smarter. So go back to the basic. What is time management? Can someone give me a definition? What's time management definition?
Managing yourself.
Managing yourself and
good habits.
Through good habits. So that's a good recap on what I just mentioned, right? Yes. Sam? Prioritizing what you have to do. Okay.
What's important.
And what's important that align to your goals. Good. Too busy. Busy bee. Little things.
Not that important, but we seem to want to do it.
Right. So people tend to do just little things and lost the big picture. What is your goal? So the dictionary definition of time management is to have conscious control over the amount of time that you spend on certain activities. And be able to increase your productivity, right? To produce results and be effective, that has good quality and also efficient with good quantity that we talked about to achieve your goal. So that's a dictionary definition. So it's not very interesting. Ultimately, the goal is how do you balance the things that you do that need to be done according to the priority or what you want to do? Which one is more important? The need to do or the want to do? We have a debate. What you need to do is more important or what you want to do is more important? The need is the required, right? Hopefully what you need to do is also what you enjoy doing. That's what we're talking about, right? So, in this picture with the lady wearing a suit, more like a professional, we probably should have her wearing an apron, right? In the same way, the guy wearing the suit going to work also perhaps some shorts and mowing the lawn and doing housework around the house as well. And sometimes we get lost. Which way do we go, right? So much going on. We have a long to-do list. So we're going to talk about a lot of different techniques. How do we prioritize? So we know what needs to be done and we won't forget about what needs to be done. So why do we care about time management? What are some ideas? What are some reasons? Why do you come this morning on a Saturday that you could relax and sleep in and you're here? So I applaud you for coming. Why do we care about time management? Give me some ideas.
Because we only have 24 hours a day.
Yes? So you want to use it well?
Yes.
Uh-huh. What else? You're shy. You come for a reason. What do
I want to be successful.
you want to be successful in life and use your time well and live your life well. Great. So these are, again, very basic dictionary. You want to save time, right? Work smart, not just work hard, right? And then you want to reduce stress. A lot of times when we don't manage our time well, what happens? We pull our hair out. We're frazzled. We're frustrated. We didn't get what I wanted to get done or what I need to get done. So if we are better in managing our time, hopefully you can reduce your stress and live longer. And increase your work output. I do want to caution us, a lot of times it's not about quantity. In fact, I want to share Jeff Bezos' story in a minute. And then we want to have more control over our responsibility. A lot of times, there are things that are outside of our control, right? Perhaps your boss just give you a project that mess up your priority. It's outside of your control. So you have to work with people to adjust. So let me give an example on Jeff Bezos. Who's Jeff Bezos? The CEO of Amazon. He's the richest man in the world. How many of you saw his interview at Bloomberg just a few days ago? So here's a quick tidbit. He sleeps 8 hours every day. And he was very clear on his time management and really encompassed what I'll share with you as well, and he put this into practice. Because he said he doesn't have to do too many things. As senior executive, he just needs to do 3 quality decisions right, as an example. So we cannot be aggressive and naive and think that, oh, we can do many, many things. So we need to select. He knows his priority. He knows his goal. And guess what? His first meeting starts at 10. Because in the morning, so of course he has the opportunity to go golfing in the morning and then spend time with his children for breakfast, which is great because that's the right priority that he set. So his work meetings start at 10. And his most productive time is before noon. So some of us are what? Morning people? How many of you are morning people? A few of you? How many are night owls? Some. And how many of you do both? So I do, which is not good, right? Kind of late night and morning person as well because we have so many hats. So he sleeps 8 hours a day. His most productive time is 10 to 12. Only 2 hours. So one of the chart I didn't put in here is same idea, right? If you're the most productive in the morning, you put the most important things to focus on, and the most challenging work, and the work that required the most brain power in your most productive time. So that's what he did. So a lot of times, by the time it's 5 o'clock, he's losing his creativity and clarity to think. So he said, okay, schedule next day, 10 o'clock. So that's how he managed time, because he knows what is his goal, his priority, and he doesn't need to do too much. So that's how he managed, and he knows what's important, his family and his golfing. And then he knows what's his sweet spot, the time that he will spend. So that way, he lives a very relatively stress-free life and also quite successful, as an example. So what are some examples of time wasters? So I'm guilty in many of these, right? So I tend to overcommit. This year, even though I retired, I'm busier than I was working. I'm home the longest time in beautiful San Diego for duration without any guests visiting, 12 days. 12 days is the longest we are home in San Diego. And then there was a 3-week duration when we were home. We have 26 guests who came from Asia, from all over, and then we hosted them. So I enjoy doing that because I manage my time and know when I travel and give talks, I help people and I interact and really build people up. So it aligned to my goal, but be careful not to overcommit. So when we overcommit, we'll get very stressed. And that's something I keep working on. And then we're poor planning. We ended up spending time on the wrong thing and the wrong direction. For example, say I'm giving a talk today and really planning time to make sure I'm ready weeks ahead, days ahead, and then hours ahead. At different point in time, know what I need to prepare, getting my content and examples and stories together. Versus I ended up doing many other things and didn't prepare until last minute. So that's the example of poor planning. And you can tell from whether you're ready or not. So this is where we need to be disciplined and managing ourselves. Anxiety, time spent in panicking. Are you productive when you're anxious? Obviously not. So this is part of stress management, right? When you manage your time, you will think more clearly, you're more calm and more productive when you're less stressed. So stress or not, who can control that? Do people control that? Or you do? It's your own decision, right? So there are people who wrote books on happiness is a choice. So you need to make decision on your mood, on your state of mind, because how anxious you are or not affects how effective and how efficient you are. Do you agree? So that's another time waster reason. And then when we're not focused, I struggled with that when I was younger. It took me a long time, especially studying, to warm up. I don't want you to show your hands if you have the same issue, right? A lot of times we spend too much time researching. For those of us who went to graduate school, we probably ended up spending a lot of time researching, or even at work, right? In my experience in corporate, same way. There's a term called analysis paralysis. We analyze to death. But we probably don't need to spend that much time researching or warming up. We just have to make a decision. So this is another time that you may not spend the right time on the right thing. Online. We don't have to show our hand, right? We are always holding on to our cell phone, our iPad, our phone, especially the younger generation. That is taking us a lot of time. So when we talk about important and urgent, you'll see how this really fall into the category. So much time got spent in the cave without us knowing. So we're going to learn some techniques. How do we pause and look at how we spend our time? Perfectionism. I am so guilty of that. I used to make sure I dot the I and cross the T to make sure everything is done exactly perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect. So I'm a high achiever, right? Went to Ivy League University and everything had to be right. Through my 33 years working, I learned to accept 80% is good enough. Depending what it is, some things you don't have to get 100%. Because that remaining 20%, you spend a lot more time, may not be getting the result that you need. So you don't have as good of an ROI, return on investment. So think about your time is precious. The opportunity cost, the same 5 hours spent on remaining 20%, is it worth it? Or can you use that same 5 hours to do something more impactful? So then you have to make those decisions yourself. Procrastination. So many of us suffer from that, right? So I mentioned when we have poor planning, we procrastinate, then we rush. So when you rush, what happens? You're anxious, you're stressed, and then the quality may not be as good. Now, some people argue that they work better under pressure. I've done that too. So it's true that you're more efficient under pressure, but you definitely suffer, right? So we have to think. And then too much socializing. We ended up spending a lot of time talking to people by the water cooler, by the cafeteria, by the vending machine, and then you lost track of your time. So there's also multitasking. Is multitasking good? I am very good at multitasking. You need to multitask in certain times, but there are times that you cannot do multitask. You need to focus. So there's a chart to really highlight how can we avoid multitasking. Are these covering time waster examples? Any other that we didn't cover? Pretty complete? So, in our life, and we talked about how to have a successful life, right? Other than the time really make up our life, right? So there are 3 partners in our life. There's yesterday, there's today, and there's tomorrow. That's basically our life, right? Every day, day by day. So what do we do with yesterday, usually? Oh, I regret. I wish I would have, could have, and should have. And regret. Or I just ignore. Oh, it just happened. I forget it. So last time when I came in April, we talked about fail forward and adversity. I talked about how make sure we learn from our mistakes and learn from our past. So we got to make sure we don't just ignore it. And then today, what do people do usually? Oh, I have so much to do, I complain about it. And then for tomorrow, oh no, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. What do? People probably worry. So all this is kind of a negative way of looking at our partners. Here's what I encourage us for us to do. Instead of regretting and ignoring yesterday, we should try to build and learn from yesterday, right? Otherwise, you wasted living a day yesterday. And you wasted the mistakes that you made, and you didn't learn and build on it. And then today, instead of complaining, let's act on it. Seize the moment. How can I manage my time? Which we're going to talk about and learn some more techniques about. And then for tomorrow, instead of worrying, not knowing what the future holds, let's plan it, right? And do scenario planning and see what would be the right thing to do. So that's how we would suggest looking at the 3 partners. So how do we use our time effectively? And these are very basic skills, and we'll kind of go through each one of these. We want to plan ahead, right? Know what needs to be done. When, how, where. We want to set goals. So we're going to talk about how to set goals, SMART goals. We need to have timing, deadlines. Give ourselves some deadline. Some could be self-imposed so that we are more disciplined. Some can be imposed by other people, by your boss, by your teammates, by your family. So there's some timing to manage. And in fact, when you have a deadline, you should have a pre-deadline. So say your project is due next month, October 30th. You want to have it ready, say October 15th, so you have 2 weeks buffer. Because something else may happen. That's smart planning, right? So you have different sets of deadline. And then you cannot do everything on your own, right? It's impossible. We don't have 三头六臂. We don't have like 3 heads and 6 hands. We need to delegate. And that's where I don't know if we talked about team building and communication we talked about, but team building is very important. How to work with different people, that could be a good topic to cover. Team building, different personality, different strength, different weaknesses, that's important. We want to work well together, so we need to delegate. And time management include people management, because if you manage people relationship well, you manage your time well because you can distribute responsibility. And then we need to prioritize, which we're going to talk a lot more about, what is important. And then not just doing a lot of things, but doing the right thing. Right? What is the right thing to do that's important, aligned to my goal, and also doing the right way so that I don't get stressed about it, and doing it at the right time. So these are big picture. This is a guy with 三头六臂, right? Or one head, 8 hands, right? There's no way, no one can do everything. So we've got to learn how to delegate. So the few key vocabulary we talk about, not very difficult words. One of them is to say no, right? I don't mean to be a difficult person and say no. In fact, one of my VP used my name, Elaine, and put an acrostic. Some of you probably remember that. The N stands for no is not in Elaine's vocabulary. What he meant by that is that I am a can-do person. I would receive responsibility gladly. But doesn't mean that you don't say no when you need to, right? When do you say no? When you focus on certain priority work and someone come in distracting you and say, I'm sorry, you can literally close the door and not say no to people so people don't bother you, right? If you're focused, doing something important, that's your priority. So we need to know how to say no, to draw the boundary. I don't mean for you to be difficult and say no. Then people say, oh, he or she always say no. That's not what I meant. I meant being wise, know when to draw the boundary, right? And then in the effective communication, I probably talked about how do you say no. There's a technique to say no. So, and I think it's probably video recorded, so you can go back and check. Without burning bridges and without ruining relationship. So how do you manage your time? So what is time? And what is time management? So every day we live. Say we live 80 years old. Hopefully we may live longer. And sad to tell you, recently a coworker who's about 60 years old unexpectedly just passed away from heart attack. And he was going to retire in 2 weeks. So it's a very shocking. We don't know how long we live. Not to scare anyone, right? So my principle is that every day I live it to the full. Not to be crazy busy all the time, but really enjoy. I swim every day. I enjoy cooking. I definitely don't have 8 hours a day of sleep. I sleep not that much. You look at my Fitbit. So, but you do every day living a life that you don't regret. We just talked about, right? You don't know how long we live. So let's say we live 80 years old. So we only have 30,000 days, which is not too much, right? Tick tock, time goes by. So how do you live your day? And every day, your time represents events, like you come here, part of your experience, your life, your actions, all that constitute your time. So what you choose to do and how you do them really represent your life experience. So it comes down to setting priority and setting your self-discipline. So we're going to talk about how do we do that. So there's a process. How many of you are engineers? Most of you, almost everyone, right? We all talk about process. So we're going to go through 6 steps. Figure out what is the cost of your time, opportunity cost. And then do a audit, assessment. How did you spend your time? Think through. 24 hours, where did the time go? And then what are my goals? How do I set my goals to align to my life purpose and my priority? How do you plan your time? And then how do you prioritize? And then how do you schedule your time? Okay? So cost of your time. What is the true value of your time, right? We have 24 hours a day, 168 hours a week. Where do we spend most of our time? At work, right? That's one of my other favorite topics. In fact, I have an organization named Call to Work, helping people to get the most at work. How do they enjoy their work, especially with your Christian faith? How do you integrate your faith at work? So our time at work is the most valuable. And if you look at your time, right, that you spend, just like tuition that you spend for your children. How many of you have children in college? No one? You? So you guys are young. Your children are young, right? Okay. So these days, college is like $50,000, $60,000 a year, and you do the calculation how much. So in the same way, your salary or your time, how did you spend it? So the question is time really money? In Chinese, 时间是金钱, right? Do you agree with that? Yes? No? So time is not money. It's not like money, right? So time is like money in a way that is very precious, that you need to use it well and spend it well. And yet time is not like money in a way that you cannot get it back, right? When time went by, you cannot redeem it. You cannot get it back. But money, if you lost some, you can earn more, right? You can make more. And then time, you get less and less, right? So we said we have 80 years, 30,000 days. It's count down. You have less and less. But money, you can accumulate and make more, right? So, and also when you don't know when you run out of money. Oh, you don't know. You run out of money, you can manage your budget, right? But you don't know when you run out of your time. Because you don't know what happens tomorrow. You don't know how long we live. So which one is more valuable, time or money? Yes, time is a lot more valuable than money, right? We always say 钱财是身外物. So time and materials and money is just external, right? But time is what's precious. Say one day when I die on my deathbed, would I ever say, I wish I worked more? I wish I make more money? I may end up saying, I wish I would spend more time with my family, with my loved ones. So that's what it's a wake-up call for us. What's important to us? What's our priority? Where do you want to spend your money? So we're going to talk about these techniques, how to manage. So the cost of time is extremely precious and valuable. So B is to make an activity log. Think through how you spend your 24 hours. Time that you're at work, time you're at home. What do you do at home? Time that you're on your phone, which just went by real quick. Time that you actually got to sleep. So think and be realistic on the estimate of time that you spend. I'll give you an example of a student's schedule, how they spend their time. And then look at what's critical areas that you lost time, right? It's okay to take some naps. Power naps are very helpful and powerful, but don't sleep more than you should. I don't think any one of us ever has a privilege to sleep more than we should. We may end up spending more time playing games without knowing. We may end up spending more time on TV without knowing, or surfing on the net. So there are times that we wasted, and we'll talk about how we find those times. And then really know when is the high performing time, right? We talked about morning people and night people, and be able to maximize your results for the time. So we say not just to work hard, but we want to work smart, right? In the same way, we want not just to live hard, but to also live smart. Use all the time available to you. And I do this so much. A lot of times people ask me, how do you get all these done? Right? But I have the same 24 hours. I don't have 25 hours. So I tend to be quick. I'm more kind of efficient person and do a few things. When I cook a few dishes at the same time. I don't just cook one dish at a time. So everyone does things differently, but I use all the time available to me. A lot of times, I don't have to drive. I use all the time when I'm in a car, when someone else is driving. and get a lot done. Email, WeChat responses, because I have many different people I work with. Nuggets of time, minutes, every minute counts. So when I was in high school studying for SAT, when I was waiting for school bus, I have flashcard with me studying vocabulary. Because I came when I was age 16. And I did only senior in high school here. So my verbal actually was really bad at the time, 450 out of 800, very bad. Even that I had to study really hard. So I use all the minutes I have. So think about what's important. You may be studying on certain principles or certain theories or things that you're working on. So I swim every day. Every day I spend about an hour in the gym and swimming and a hot tub. It's quiet time. It's very therapeutic to be near water. That's why people have these fancy waterfall and fancy plug-in water things to give you the water sound. So when I am swimming, no one bothers me, right? That's the time that you could be most quiet and silent and think and reflect. So find your own way to reflect. And we're going to have a very nice diagram to show all that. So use every minute you have, because every minute counts. Doesn't mean that you have to be stressed every minute, right? So I talked about time to relax. And you need to allocate time to help you to be most effective and productive. And also do it early. So like I talked about, when you're waiting and you're commuting. So think about those times that you can use and work smart. C is goal setting. So we're going to talk about understanding what's your priority. How do you set your goals? So when you set your goals, really that has to align with your life, right? Like I said, when I'm on my deathbed, I would be reflecting on what is my life goal. So some of you remember my pyramid with the 5P. Remember? How many of you seen the 5P? Right? Stephen, remember, I'm going to quiz you. So what's the bottom layer? Purpose, right? So what is my purpose in life? So for me, everyone could be different. So my big picture purpose, and this is a test if I'm living my life fulfilling my purpose, right? Is to enjoy God's love and share God's love with other people. So through a lot of the mentoring and teaching that I do, and at work over the years in corporate America, that's how I live my purpose. In my family, in the community, in work. And then the second layer is principle, right? What is the principle? Your guiding principle. What your culture background, your upbringing, my Christian faith, the Bible value help me to make decisions. So are you living according to your principle? And the third P is my passion. My passion is to help people to be successful. So I do that at work, help people to be successful. Some of you heard me saying, my goal at work is to help my people to take over my job and help my boss to be a shining star, right? So that's my passion, to help people to be successful. Now I'm helping others when I go give talks on different topics. And then the fourth P is people, right? It's all the soft skills that Simon and Melissa and CIE work so hard to help you develop those soft skills, people skill. When you work well with people, you save time. And then the last P, the ultimate, is your performance. So those 5 P is my life goal. Am I living my life aligned to my life goal? So you need to know what your goal is, what your career path is, and how you spend your time on those life goals. Divide up your life goal over time. So now I'm in my 50s. My children are grown as adults. And yet over the years, right, when I was a young engineer, what's my life goal could be, and how I spend my time could be different when I got married and then with young children, right, as a mom. So different life stages could be different goals at the time that you would spend your time differently. And then look at your big picture goal, but also look at your small goals, right? It's multiple small goals that will build up to your big goals. So try to kind of make it in a bite size, right? What people say, how do you eat an elephant? A bite at a time, right? Elephant is big, but how do you eat a bite at a time? So look at chunks of your goals. How do you get there? For example, I'm working on a master degree, right? That's your big goal. To get there, you have courses that you need to take. And each course, you have tests that you need to do well. So same idea. How would you then work through the daily to-do list? How many of you keep a to-do list? I think most of us do, right? And we have many different tools that can help us to do that, whether it's Microsoft Calendar or even just a good old to-do list on the... And we're going to talk about how to use that to achieve our goals. And then you may revise your list every day, right? It may change based on the day's priority and evaluate your performance. And goal setting, we're going to do a little exercise here. You have to be specific to write down what the goal is and give some time, a date. And why is this goal important? What is the benefit? And then look at it regularly. So here are some examples. My goal is to get home on time more consistently. Some of us probably struggle with that. Or spending more time with my family. Improve my work schedule. Complete project on time without rushing. So there are many examples, good examples of goals. And then think about each one of these. What is the benefit? And how are you going to accomplish it and when? So I'll give you an example, because I give you these so to start your thinking, because I'm going to ask you to work with your neighbor, spend a few minutes, give an example of a goal that you can achieve. So when we look at a goal, make sure it's SMART goal. How many of you heard of SMART goal? Many of you do, right? S is something that's very specific, not vague. And it's got to be very clear, concise. M is measurable, right? Did you really complete it? And A, it's attainable, meaning it's very realistic, you can achieve it. A, it's relevant to your life journey in your current state, what's important to you. And then T is time-bound, right? Give it a schedule, a timeline. And then when you have a goal set up, make sure you share with people around you, your accountability partners. That is one of the key success factors. Share with someone, they could encourage you, hopefully not to pick on you, not to criticize you, but to support you and encourage you as your partner so they can keep you accountable. And then don't be too aggressive. Don't do 10 goals. Do 1, do 3, right? In different areas. And then remember, what is the payoff? What's the benefit? Okay? So that's SMART goals. So here's an example. I want to have dinner with my family consistently. Okay? So is this specific? Right? And measurable and the time bound. Say by September or by certain date. I want to come home for dinner at least 4 times a week. So it's very specific, right? Measurable, time bound. To do this, I will. There may be some adjustment you need to change in your life. Meaning, for example, I will need to leave the office at certain time, right? And think about traffic, especially your Bay Area have a lot of traffic, right? So, and then what is the benefit? Always begin with the end in mind. What is that end goal and the benefit that would encourage you, that would motivate you? So I want you to do that with your neighbor for a few minutes. So I'm going to go back to these examples. Jog your memory. Talk to the person next to you. Do a quick example. So I give you a few minutes to do that. Okay. So you got a chance to talk about your goals? Yes? Of course. Your goal is so important. It's not just a few minutes, but I want you to start thinking. Right? And if you're willing, you can continue to be partnered to encourage one another. Or find someone close to you at work and at home or in your community. This is very healthy. This is very important. Because these goals have to align back to your priority. But I hope this gets you thinking. And then we're going to talk more about really planning out what's important to you, right? And what's urgent. So a plan is to really... How many of you use a project plan at work? Project plan? Yes? Not many, because you just do design. So on any project you're on, there's got to be a project plan, right? What you need to accomplish, why do you want to accomplish them, when, how, right? The 5W and the 1H. So there's got to be a plan. In the same way, based on your goal, you have to have a plan. So we just went through some example. So this is a funny joke. What is a typical list in America? The most used list is the honey-do list, right? Your honey, whether it's your spouse, your friend, honey-do list, please do this, wash the car. And so hopefully it's not being asked, but you're willing and you're eager. Like I enjoy cooking the 8 dishes for my husband. So this chart looks really busy. It's worth for us to spend a few minutes because this has a lot of good techniques. And Simon will have this ready for people who are interested. So let's start from here. How to focus in the age of distraction. So let's start from this and then go clockwise, okay? Can you see? I'll read it out. So first group, oh my goodness, I'm so addicted to Twitter, Facebook, and email. You see this person going crazy. So what do you need to do? We need to really slow down and block out this addiction to have freedom by cutting time out from internet. This may be true from some young people or teenagers. How to have self-control, lock myself out from certain sites that eat up a lot of my time. So be honest, doing your own inventory. And that I may try not to use a computer and try to write instead, to go back to the basics. So how can I cut out these addiction to all these e-world, right? How about taking a digital technology detoxification? Some of us do detox from diet, right? From our food, not to eat fatties, not to eat sugar. So how about taking a detox from technology and try to think about creative, reading a book, and spending time with family and friends instead of addicted to all the electronics. And then managing our space. A lot of times, I am very guilty. I end up spending time looking for things, right? Because I didn't put things organized way and know exactly where things are. Some of us waste time looking for things. So it's important to think about every day to spend 10 minutes or some time to declutter so that you know exactly where things are. And then we have the inbox, right? Whether it's the actual mail that comes in from the post office or things that you purchase or email inbox that will get time to clear them from time to time so that you can focus and do one thing to manage your space. And then how do I work? I want to work in a focused manner. We talked about using a timer, and people have certain attention span limitation. So I taught Sunday school for 30 years. And one principle that we always tell teachers, the children's attention span is proportional to their age. So if they're 5 years old, how long can they sit for? 5 minutes. So for me, 50-some years old, 50-some minutes, right? So based on your age and based on your ability to focus, the time that you can focus on something, schedule it that way. Don't stretch yourself for more than you can have attention for. And again, we talked about how to work if you're a morning person, night person, right? Like Jeff Bezos, he's the most focused from 10 to 12. Those are the 2 hours. So that's where the most strategic and important decision will be made. So spend your time that way. And then get away from the computer so that you don't always get drawn. Avoid internet and even try to go back to your pen, the basics, and writing. And of course, for me, actually, I'm really bad with writing, so I have to type because I'm more productive with typing up. So depending on how you work. And then create healthy habits. I share with you more later how to take care of yourself and have healthy habits. Whatever keeps you healthy, spiritually, emotionally, intellectually, socially, think of different aspects, right? In your mind, your heart, your body, your soul. How can you make sure you have good habits So everyone got up this morning, we all brush our teeth, right? So that's one of example of a healthy habit. So what's important to you? So I'll share with you my example. So so you can go for a walk, enough time to go to bed, read a book, meet someone face to face, healthy breakfast, we eat oatmeal every morning, shower. So I go swimming and I work around the house. So having a clean sink, and every Saturday when I finish cleaning the house, that's part of my therapy. I'm very happy when the house is clean. And I'm a really clean freak, which is really bad. So everyone has their different things that really help you to feel you have accomplished what's important. So these are very basic things, right? Keeping clean, but don't overdo it. Sometimes I overdo it. Making sure you have enough bedtime rest. Eat healthy, right? So these are valuable way, and take a walk and stretch. This whole red section is important to take good care of yourself. And I have a very elaborate list later to share with you. And then managing your email, right? Turn off the alert so that it doesn't bother you, ding, ding, ding all the time. And I practiced this when I was at work. Because when you're working on something and then the email comes in, a lot of times like, oh, who sent me email? And get distracted. Try to control and discipline yourself in a way that you block out and not look at them. And set time. There are people who are very smart in their calendar. They block out 1 hour. Could be the morning or the midday or afternoon to just focus and do email and clear it. Right? And block out time in your calendar so people don't just control your calendar, but you control yourself. So how you manage your calendar is very powerful. So set up time that you would just check on email instead of always connecting. So for example, people block out 8 to 10 a.m. And then the last one, take time to reflect. What did I do well? And give yourself a pat on the shoulder. Yes, I got this done. And celebrate, right? Don't just beat yourself up. So celebrate with your partner, with your friends. I manage my time well. And what can I improve on? And what are the 3 most important things to do? Kind of work on your list. So we go through some of those techniques in prioritizing and think about what's really important versus what's urgent. And this is my favorite from President Eisenhower. I want to share with you. Some of you probably have seen it before. So that I know where to spend my time, my energy, my talent, right? And know what's important to work on first. So how are we going to set priority? How many of you have seen this matrix? Important versus urgent, right? Many of you. Is it useful? Not useful. Why is that?
Sometimes it's important, but some things will emerge and apply first.
Then it changes.
I don't know what is right.
What is, okay. So this helps us to get our mindset, thinking, how to categorize and put what we do every day into one of these 4 buckets. Then you make decision how you're going to spend your time. So let's kind of talk through it. There are things that could change, and there are things that are out of your control, right? So something very important and very urgent, like someone got sick, you need to take them to the doctor. That's an extreme example. Like a project is due on Monday, and it's important. It affects my performance at work, right? Those are pretty easy to call out. If it's urgent and it's important, what do? You have to do them first, right? And then it's important, but not urgent. There's so many things. My health is important. Exercise. It's not that urgent. If I don't do it, I can wait till tomorrow, next week. But is it important? Yes. The problem is, if I keep procrastinating and delaying not exercising, then it becomes urgent. I'll get sick, right? So the project due October 30th. It was not urgent, right? I have time. It's important. If I keep procrastinating, now it's October 29th. I still have not started it. then it becomes urgent, right? So what happens is when we don't manage and plan and prioritize well, what's not urgent becomes urgent. So which one do you prefer to work in? The red box or the orange box? The red box or the orange box? Orange, right? Because then you're more relaxed and be more proactive in planning. And I call that quadrant 1 in the red, and this is quadrant 2. Not urgent, but important. Then quadrant 3. So this sometimes we say do next. To me, while it's doing next, I want to make sure I set time for it and not to keep procrastinating. So this is just to help you set priority because this is urgent. But once this is done, I want to always keep my orange space, my quadrant 2. Then quadrant 3, it's not that important. It's someone else's priority. May not be my priority. I can help them. And it's urgent, right? So I would do them later if it's still necessary. So that's quadrant 3. That's the green box. And then, not urgent, not important, like video games, surfing on the net without purpose, overly watching TV, overly shopping, just checking social media. We end up spending a lot of time on that, right? And that's quadrant 4. We call those time waster. So I love this matrix so much that I have another way to represent it. So we talked about quadrant 1. It's where these immediate deadline tomorrow, crisis, cramming for exam, emergency, last minute preparation. It's urgent, it's important. I got to do them now. It's not happy to live in that space all the time. It's very high stress. So I rather do them when it's not urgent, while it's still important. So I need to be proactive, to plan, to prioritize. And a lot of the things that are important, like my health, relationship, are here. So every day, there are 3 things I don't compromise, that I would allocate time, no matter how busy I am. My health, so I exercise, swim every day, and I do my 10,000 steps every day. So we just came back from Yellowstone. We did 20,000 steps. So my health, every day I eat oatmeal, healthy, taking care of my health. So I don't compromise. So number 1. Second, my emotion, my relationship with my husband, spend time with my family. So our children are grown now. Once a week, we do a lot of WhatsApp in our communication, and we also have conference call. We used to be in East Coast, Central, and West Coast. So we have weekly call and share what's happening this week, and we pray together with our adult children. So every day I allocate time for relationship, emotion. Then the third is my spirit, my spiritual. As a Christian, I read the Bible every day to get myself grounded. So these are 3 things I don't compromise. So think about what's important to you and allocate, just like brushing your teeth. So I'm able to manage my time and be grounded because these 3 things are important. When I do those 3 things, I am so well prepared to do many more things. If I don't get grounded and do what's important, I would lose sight of what's valuable and get lost into many other different things that may be less important. So you need to know what those are for yourself and allocate time. I call those non-negotiables. Non-negotiables. Regardless of how busy I am, I always allocate time for what's important to you. So quadrant 2 is where I want to live. I want to maximize living in the quadrant 2 space, doing what's important when it's not urgent. That's where we want to live. When we manage ourselves better and we're disciplined. Quadrant 3, you cannot avoid, right? Those are email interruption, people come and need your help. May not be your priority, but maybe their priority. So you want to work through those and prioritize. And then quadrant 4, a total time waster. Be sure to get rid of those, minimize those, right? We all know what those are, I believe, and try to avoid them. So one more way, last chart, to show these, right? And this is worth taking a picture of because this is something you can go back and reflect. What are those urgent things that you do in quadrant 1? You do immediately, critical. And then what are the important things? And again, what quadrant do we want to maximize? 1, 2, 3, or 4? 2. Always maximize in quadrant 2 right here. The plan to do and the important goals. And then 3, the interruption, try to work on rescheduling them and delegate to someone else. Right? You cannot do everything. And then 4, you absolutely try to avoid and discard. So think through how your 24 hours was spent and how the time just went. So when we allocate our time, there's a lab, right? There's a list of things you need to do. A is you allocate how much time you need to spend on it, and then you prioritize. So now that we know quadrant 1, 2, and 3, so we don't want to spend any time on 4, you think about this week and today, how many important things can you do? How many urgent things you can do? Because how much time would it take? And then what is on your wish list? It may not be on your calendar yet, but if you have time, you may want to do them. So think through those every month, every week, and every day so that you have a clear mind and try to align them to your goals, right? Whether it's a big picture goal or small goals based on your current life stage as an engineer, as a single, as a son, as a mom, as a dad, as a husband or wife. So at different life journey, different stage, that you know how to align those and determine how many you can do because how much time it may take. So that you know what is important. What's important. So for example, studying is important for a student. Urgent will be some application due, and what are some wish lists? So here's an example of time allocation for a student. I know we may be engineer, we may not track our time that way. So just roughly, you don't have to be so precise. But this is an example of how they spend time on their homework, reading, internet, exercise, walking, kind of roughly sleeping, eating. So you probably have some idea on how your time is spent. And then think through, do they align back to quadrant 1, 2? And do they align to your priority and what's important? So think in a day in your life, how was your time spent? So finally, scheduling. Now that we have inventory of our activities, we know our goals, we know our priorities. Now we want to plan it, now you want to schedule it. Based on what's urgent, right? Do those first. And then the important ones, make sure we allow time. And then wish list, if we have time, will be nice to have, right? So the must have and the nice to have. And set those up and schedule. So these are some tools that can help you every day in the morning or maybe the night before. Say these are things I need to do, right? Again, align them to your goal, your priority. Every week could be on Friday or Monday morning or Sunday night. What are the to-do lists for this week, for next month? We're planning a lot of trips, so we have to plan ahead and allow time and get good deals on tickets and on shows. My parents are coming for 3 weeks in Vegas, so we just plan our trip for November to make sure that we have the best deal. So you have a short term, medium term, and long term. So you all heard about the example of the big rock? How many of you heard of the story of the big rock? Not many? So here's the illustration. We have a big container right here, right? And then I've got a pile of big rocks. I have a pile of medium-sized stones. And then I have a pile of tiny little pebbles. And then I have a pile of sand. And then I have a whole bottle of water, right? How do I put all these into the container in order to maximize using the space? What do I put in first? Big rocks, right? And then what do I put in next? The medium-sized stones, right? Then what do I put next? The pebbles, right? Because then they would go between the space. Then what do I put next? The sand. Then the sand will go in. And then what do I put last? Water. Then it will just sift through. Amazing, right? That is with our life. Make sure you don't miss the big rocks. So for me, I told you my big rocks. To make sure good health, good relationship with the family, and good relationship with God as a Christian. These are my big rocks. Then I'm able to be more energized and more wise and more thoughtful to do other things. So whatever your foundation is, whatever gives you more energy are your big rocks. To make sure you don't lose sight. A lot of times, we're so busy we don't have time to exercise. We're so busy we don't have time to spend with our family. We're so busy we don't have time to spend with what matters to us. So this is so important. So think about that illustration. So Stephen Covey said, put first thing first, right? So we went through what's important and what's urgent. So that's very practical, very powerful. So if you set up your goals, we had an exercise earlier, make sure it's in your schedule. You put in your calendar. You want to spend time with your family eating dinner. So this book, Eat That Frog First. For the Western culture, frog is not good to eat. But for us, we love to eat tianji, delicious. Ever since I was a child, we love to eat frog. But just think about American or Western culture. They think frog is, yee. So it's the same thing. There are certain workout may be for some people, right? There's certain work that you may not like to do. We ended up procrastinating. When I was working, I did not like to do expense reports. Every time I travel, when I come back, I have all these receipts. It's like really painful. There was a time that our secretary will help us do them. So that's one thing that I would procrastinate. And administrative work, like writing performance appraisal or performance review. Certain things that you don't like to do, set up time. Eat the frog first. Because it's important, because you need to get them done. Unpleasant things. To finish up, while I said no to certain things, I encourage you to say yes to certain things. This is my secret. This is my technique. What is yes to me? You. Remember? It's not managing the time, it's managing yourself. To have that self-discipline. Yourself, self-control. Balancing what's the need versus what's the want. What's important, urgent, so you have to align that to your goal. To make your commitment and set clear priorities. That's you. That's the why in the yes. E is to execute these techniques that we talked about and live in what quadrant? Quadrant 2. Maximize, protect. Quadrant 2, to no end. Protect your non-negotiable. Protect what's important, valuable to you. That you live a life that's not regretful. And then S. I came up with this. Self-care. And a group liked it so much that they made a bookmark of it. And I'll go through each one. This is my critical tool to help myself manage my time. Because I take care of myself first. I don't mean it to be selfish. I mean it to be self-care. So I'm going to go through each one of them. So it's not selfish, right? When I talk about leadership, it's others-centered leadership, not me, myself, and I, and give myself glory. It's about helping others to be successful. So it's not about selfish, but it's about self-care. You need to take care of yourself in order to take care of others and other projects, right? If you don't take care of yourself, don't work yourself to death. I take care of myself by enjoying my swimming every day, by enjoying my relationship every day, right? So you got to make sure you take care of yourself. So S is self-discipline, and that is to healthy habits and give you a satisfying life. So I live by this for my decades in my life, and that's really helped me. So my S is my spiritual maturity. So whatever faith that you may have, get yourself grounded in your spirit. So I read the Bible every day, reflect, meditate, and we have homework for our Bible study fellowship, and we pray to make sure that we grow strong. That's huge. That's our foundation. And then E, establish healthy habit. I told you, right? Exercise, eat healthy. So I have exercise, oatmeal, and I have my bottle of tea with me. Salad, we make our own dressing. Very critical. Not just brushing your teeth, but whatever makes you healthy. That's an E. L is to live every day like today's the last day. Doesn't mean to rush everything and pack every day in. It means to live your life today fruitful, the way that you would not regret. That you really align your life to your goals and what's meaningful and what's relevant, and live your life to the full. Not to be a busy bee, 蒙头苍蝇到处飞. I don't mean like a fly flying, blind, but really enjoying every day. Because remember our 3 partners, yesterday, today, and tomorrow, right? But we don't know how many tomorrows we have. So every day, make it count. Make it align to your goals. F is to have fun, right? Game, travels, treat yourself well. Give yourself encouragement and reward. I have my guilty pleasure. Some certain dessert I like, and bubble tea, and certain ice cream. So you don't eat it all the time, but give yourself a treat, right? You can't be boring eating salad every single day. So treat yourself well. Have fun. And know how to relax. And then, care, C, is to call on others. You cannot do this alone. You need partners. Whether it's your spouse, your family, your friend, your accountability partner, like what we just did earlier, just a good conversation. Do it together. Good, bad, and ugly. Journey of faith together. Your joys and burdens. So really work as a team. That also helps you build people relationship. A, attitude matters. A lot of this has to do with your mindset. How to live a life full, fruitful, rewarding is your mindset based on your attitude, your value. So when I hire people and when I interview employees or interview students applying to Cornell and Princeton, I don't only look at their aptitude, meaning their hard skill and ability on what they can accomplish. I also look at their attitude, right? Soft skill. How do they work well with people? If they have a very high IQ, really strong capability, and yet they are extremely poor attitude, cannot work with other people, versus someone who has so-so IQ but really good attitude, who would I hire? Who would you hire, the first or the second person? Second person, right? If they're the smartest person in the world and yet they cannot work with anyone, you don't have a team. So attitude matters. Learn to appreciate other people. Have a positive attitude. And last time we talked a lot about AQ, resilience. So that's very powerful. Not afraid of failures. Have a positive attitude. R, renew your mind, right? Being educated, training intellectually, challenging yourself. Read and learn new things to keep yourself up to date and be current with technology, with science, with news or policies, with relationships. So learn to renew. Last, on the care, it's E. Every day, it's a gift. Right? That's why present, spell present, right? I'm giving you a present. And today, live in the moment. Enjoy it with gratitude. Always count every day. Count the blessing. Every morning you wake up, so thankful. You breathe the fresh air. So thankful you're up and you're able to work. And just really have the right attitude. That gives you a good mindset in managing your time and managing your life. So it's great that they actually make this bookmark, and I really encourage you to think through that. Self-care. Take good care of yourself. And that's really what helped me to be so energized. People have given me a lot of nicknames like Energizing Bunny and Mary Poppins. I always have many different things in my pocket. You know, just different personality, and yet being resourceful, using my time, my talent, and treasure to help other people. So these are words to think about when you make decisions, how to make your time choices. Is it now? Is it later? Maybe is it for sure? Or is it not sure? So you don't have to say yes to everything. There's some things you have to draw the boundary, but there's some things that we cannot procrastinate. So think about those. So finally, I've given the talk just on these points, but we don't have time to cover everyone. But basically, we cover some of the detail already. Is aim. How are you going to manage your time by aiming? So this is really a good summary for all that we covered. A is to have accountability. Going through your time, how you spend. Make sure that you work through what's urgent versus important. And the practical ways of looking through your list, LAP, your allocation, and your priority. So that's accountability. So make sure you're accountable to how you spend your time with a partner that help you. I is to implement, right? The goals that we talked about, what are your goals? Do they align to your priorities and the SMART goals? And are they efficient and are they effective, giving you quality? So again, we don't have to do a lot, but just do the right thing and spend the right amount of time on it. And then using the YES tool that we talked about to the YES tool to manage yourself, execute the time, and self-care. And then lastly, AIM, A-I-M. M is to get motivated. Remember, success is an iceberg. People may only see the tip of your iceberg, but there's a lot underneath the water. So it's worth investing in what's underneath the water that will help you keep successful. And the 3 partners, remember, be motivated, live a life that you don't regret, right? That you could, instead of regret and complain, we want to learn from it, build up, and plan for the future. So that we can be fulfilled and integrated life and a balanced life. And every day is a gift. So that's the aim that I'm leaving with you. Hope you all aim. And finally, all this help you build leadership skill. When you manage your time better, you're a better leader. Leader not so much by title, but leader in influencing others. Whether it's influencing your boss, your coworkers, your team, influencing your family, influencing your friends. So as a leader, it's influencing others to be their best for the greater good. That's how I define leadership. So time management helps you to be a better leader because you can schedule what's difficult at the right time to do, eating well, having enough rest, healthy emotion, knowing when to multitask, when to focus, and different skill in managing yourself. The different tools you can use, and make sure we have quiet time, whether it's a morning, midday, or evening. Set up a time to be quiet, to reflect, and really take time, even a day, a retreat, so that you really focus. And that's why we have vacation, right? That you come back refreshed. So that's my final list of suggestions. And then, again, just really good reminder to avoid perfectionism. It's okay, it doesn't have to be perfect. And be realistic and set limits. Focus on what you want to do and not get lost with too much just in the detail. So I want everyone to really think about what change you're going to make when you go back. Did you learn something valuable? Can you show your hand if you learned one thing? Okay, everybody has at least one thing, right? So, this is your homework assignment. What changes are you going to make? I applaud you. Some of you probably already doing some of these things correctly, which is great. So, that you're going to do more of these. So, this is the plus, minus, multiply, and divide, right? What are things that are you going to add? You're going to start doing. You've never done it. Give me an example. Anyone has one thing you're going to start doing that you didn't do before, that you learned? Yes?
I think I would like to establish some regular, maybe weekly exercises.
Yes. Exactly. It doesn't have to be every day like me. Could be 3 times a week, or could be even 1 time a week. Start with baby steps. Outstanding. Because your health is important to you. Great. So start exercising. Set a schedule. Who else? What are you going to start doing that you didn't do before? Yes.
I want to start doing my to-do list.
Yes.
I always wanted the list, but
Okay.
I never do it. It's
Yes.
My time always
Pass by. Good. So what I need to get done today, this week, this month, so that you have a list and remind yourself. And it feels so good when you cross it, and the list is gone. Yes. But then there may be new lists, right? So it's a good sense of accomplishment. Great. Yes.
I have too many papers on my desk, and my wife always complains there's so much stuff on it. So I want to start. I learned from you today. At least spend 10 minutes per day
To declutter.
clear the space.
Yes. Yes. And then know where I put the things and know where to find it instead of wasting hours finding it. I'm guilty of that. Thank you. Let's work on it together. That's great. Okay, things that you would start doing. So think about it, right? Take home. This is your homework. Otherwise, if you don't make any change, you wasted 2 hours. This morning, you shouldn't have come, right? If you're not taking any action to make change, then your 2 hours was not spent well. You could have used your 2 hours doing something better. So think about what you're going to start doing. Then, what are you going to stop? What are things that you're going to stop doing? So you'll be working smarter, not just harder. I heard ladies, I got guys, so someone are going to share, what are you going to stop doing? Stephen?
Facebook.
Well, you don't have to stop it, but you're going to cut down the time.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah, less. So this is to do less, right? Right, to do less. So for some people, maybe stop gossiping, right? Because you end up spending time yapping, complaining, right? Stop complaining, right? Use that time to encourage each other. Stop gossiping, right? Stop complaining. Stop wasting time, right? So how about do more? You're already doing it. Perhaps exercise. You're already doing once a week. Okay, maybe I'll do twice a week. What is some do more that you multiply? Good things. Any examples? Yes. Say no. You're going to do more, say no. But they invite you to talk. You're still going to say yes. Okay, what you're doing well, that's great. Encourage yourself and multiply. And then do less, like Stephen said, less Facebook. So that's all I have. I want to hear if you have any questions. Thank you for paying attention. I hope this is helpful. And a lot of times it's not just talking, but it's walking, right? It's really putting into practice. So we talk about, you learn so much in your head. How about in your heart? And then now in your hand. Because I think in our heart, we all feel so guilty and convicted. We really want to do better. So we have to follow our heart. Now we have to bite the bullet. Really sit down, like you said, to write a to-do list. And encourage yourself. So find a partner to help each other. Any questions?